Happy day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Better Catholics. Once again, I am Father Melvin.
I'm Bishop Ryan.
And we have a very special guest today, once again. We always have very special guests here in Better Catholics, but this time it's special because this is a fellow religious of mine. So, and there are a handful of religious here in the diocese, and one of the longest serving religious communities here in the diocese is the Pastorales sisters. So right now we are privileged to have Sister Cynthia Angelot, one of the sisters who are serving here in the Diocese of Chalan, Canoa. Sister?
Thank you, Father, for having me in in this program. And I'd like also to greet our viewers of this podcast on Better Catholics. Mm-hmm. And I'm Sister Cynthia Angelot from the Philippines, city of Tagbilaran, province of Bohol, in which the famous Chocolate Hills, it is located in Bohol, and the famous Tarsier, the smallest monkey in the world. And as a religious, I made my first profession in 1980. And then I was assigned in some parishes and in the formation ministry, specifically in the novitiate and postulancy level. And I'd like to borrow the words of MacArthur, I shall return.
That's a good one. Tell us why. It's a very good...
I was assigned here in 2006 to 2009 with Father Manny Corcuera, the late Mother Manny Corcuera, and Father Jojo Santos as my priest collaborator. And it was only last September that I came back.
Of last year.
In this beautiful island.
And as they say, love is sweeter the second time around. So I hope and pray that coming back to Saipan, to the Diocese of Chalan, Canoa, the second time around, it's you're more adjusted, you're more comfortable, you know the culture, the ways of the people. So thank you for saying yes to this ministry.
Thank you for welcoming me again. And presently, I am assigned in San Vicente Parish with Father Jesse Regis as my collaborator. And at the same time, I'm also helping in the Diocese of Chalan, Canoa in the Canonical record section.
Yes, which is a very important ministry of the church. So part of the week, Sister Cynthia is here with us, working hard on those canonical records, dates of baptism, confirmation, funeral, marriages, and we want to make sure that they are well preserved and they're recorded properly so that, we can keep this and transmit, and this would be available for the next generations. So which of the two responsibilities do you like best? The parish ministry or the canonical records? It goes without saying.
Of course, the parish ministry.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, because it is part of your, actually that is your charism.
Yeah.
To serve in the parish. But enlighten us, sister, regarding your religious community, about the history of it, the founders, when was it founded?
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about your community, sister?
So the Sisters of Jesus Good Shepherd, commonly known as the Pastorales Sisters, was founded in Zinzano, Italy on October 7, 1938 by Father James Alberione, now Blessed James Alberione. Because he was once an assistant parish priest, 1908, and it was at that time that he sensed the value of complementarity in the pastoral mission of women in helping in the parish. So he thought of founding religious congregation, and that is we, the Pastorales Sisters. So 1908, and it was only 1938 that we were founded.
So 2022,
almost
we're now, how many years? Right. So they've been
100 years.
Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah. And I really like also when you use the word complementary, I cannot even say it. That one. Yeah, because they really work side by side with the pastors. And perhaps, the word Pastorelli.
Yeah.
And it is important for us also to have the presence of women, religious women, in the church or women in general. And I know in certain dioceses there are even lay women or religious women who run parishes. They are parish administrators. And this is something like outside of the traditional way of running a parish. But what we've been having in our diocese is they are really integral to the ministry of the parishes, of the church, right? So our parishes here have been blessed: San Vicente, San Antonio, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Cathedral. And in the past, we also had San Roque, where the ministry of the Pastorelli sisters, you've been really so much a part of our parish ministers in here. And not only with helping the pastor, but even in the instruction, in the catechism, in the liturgical celebration. Yes. But more than that, like any religious or priest, the ministry of presence is just as important. By you being there, showing the people, showing us the way you live out, your religious vows, your life, and setting a good example to the community.
How long have you been in the island? I mean, the Pastorelle sisters. How long has the Pastorelle sisters been serving in the Diocese of Chalan Canal?
So we came here 2001, but it was not yet a community. In the following year, so we established a community 2002. So how many years now up to this
20.
Time? 20 years.
Yes.
And there were Korean sisters who were also assigned here before.
From the Pastorelle.
Yes, from Korea.
So you're all over the world. So in terms of representations in other countries, what other countries are you serving?
So we are in 5 continents, in 19 countries. We have in Europe and Latin America. We have also in Africa, Australia, in Asia. In Asia, we have in South Korea, China, Taiwan, and the Philippines, of course.
Yeah. Australia is part of the Asia Pacific group. Yes. And I'm privileged to have visited also their mother house in Rome, Italy. They have a beautiful chapel in there. And it's kind of the mother house, if I'm not mistaken. And even your community also in Chicago.
Yes. And USA,
Yes.
Wow.
Chicago and Saipan.
And don't forget, we are in US soil.
I forgot the USA. Yeah. We're almost around 500 sisters all over the world. Yes. In the Philippines, we're around 60. And we have novices, postulants, and incoming aspirants, and 1 junior, and the rest are perpetually professed sisters.
In terms of vocations, are you getting a lot of vocations?
At this time, not so much.
Not so much, yeah. Maybe it's good, to invite people to join the Pastorelle sisters, change the world. One sister at a time.
That's right, Father.
Have you talked to some of our young women here on island and kind of to consider the religious life, or has there been, have there been some signs of perhaps like, this particular group or, that CCD or confirmation student is a potential vocation?
Yes, Bishop.
Good.
Sometimes I talk to them, and then if they are interested to be a religious someday,
In terms of charism, I know the apostolate is different from the charism. In terms of your charism, but they are very related to each other. In terms of charism, what are your charism?
Our charism is really collaboration with the pastors in building up the Christian community.
Okay.
So it is stated in our rule of life that we share in the pastoral mission of Jesus Christ in collaboration with the pastors in building up the Christian community.
Well, that's very, for me, it's vague.
Yeah.
It is vague. When you say collaborating with the priest in terms of pastoral ministry, pastoral ministry is very diverse.
Yes,
you could be serving, serving with the youth. You could be serving, for the youth ministry program, for the altar servers ministry program, which is Sister Emma is serving as the director for it. and many other aspects of pastoral ministry.
Yeah, so we emphasize the collaboration with the pastors and Father, but we have the involvement in the parishes where we are, like formation of basic ecclesial communities, catechetical ministry, campus ministry, where Sister Narcy is involved now in San Fernando, La Union.
Hi, Sister Narcy.
And we have campus ministry, a youth ministry, family and life ministry. We have also pastoral care to seafarers and their families. And
I recall Sister Stella, when she left Saipan, she was assigned to the ministry, the ministry of the migrants.
Yeah, so that is we have Bishop pastoral care to migrants and their families. And we have also liturgical animation and school apostolate, because we have 2 schools, one in Lingayen and one in Imus. And other needs in the parish that is in line with our charism.
That's a lot of ministries.
Yes, Father.
Yeah, keeps them busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have 600 sisters all over the world. I think you're all covered.
It depends on the diocese or parish where we are in.
But in the Philippines, how many sisters do you think you have?
Almost 60.
60?
Yeah,
Wow,
60
that's
sisters.
still a lot of sisters.
Yes.
I know that you have one in Cavite, because, I'm a Caviteño, and I spent a lot of time in Imus.
Yes, Father.
And there's a school there, the Good Shepherd Sister, which is a big school. And it's still growing in terms of population, I think.
Yes. Hopefully by this time that it will be a face-to-face already.
So you mentioned about Good Shepherd, and you mentioned about charism and apostolate. So we have the Good Shepherd sisters, and I know like a common feast day for this congregation is the 4th Sunday of Easter, which is the Good Shepherd Sunday. But also on June 29th is a big feast for them, the Feast of Saints Peter and Paul. And this 2 figures are really the pillars of the church.
Yes,
and so I believe Pastorelli, Good Shepherd, in a way, there are similarities. You share the same feast days and kind of the Pauline family. Can you explain to us a bit about what comprises the Pauline family? Are there other congregations like somewhat, you collaborate with or related to your ministry as well?
Yes, Bishop. Our founder, Blessed James Alberione, was a prayerful man, a man of faith, a humble person. And he was really inspired by the Spirit to found 5 congregations and 4 institutes and 1 lay association, which is the Pauline Cooperators. And we are autonomous. Though we are autonomous, yet we have one apostolic undertaking, that is to live and give Jesus, Master, way, truth, and life to the world. Okay. So we have one Father, that is Saint Paul. That is why we are called the Pauline family. Okay, so we have different charisms, but we have one undertaking, as what I said, that is really to give and live Jesus, Master, way, and truth, and life to the world or wherever we are sent.
Yes. And I want to not really digress a bit, but since we've been discussing about the Pastorelli as an institution, perhaps it would be good for us also to hear some like personal testimonies of Sister Cynthia. Like, you mentioned at the very beginning, this is the 2nd time that you've been sent to this diocese. What keeps you going as a religious sister? Well, what do you find meaningful the most? Or what keeps you happy, joyful, and all of that?
Perhaps I would begin with my vocation story.
Oh, good. Yes, yeah.
Okay, I started to have this kind of vocation when I was about to graduate in high school. Then I saw sisters in our place, happy playing with the children, and they're happy doing their tasks in the school. So I thought of to be a sister is a course, like taking up nursing, or teachers. But I approached one of the priests in the school where I enrolled in college. Father, I want to enroll to be a sister. No, it's not a course, but it is a vocation. Okay, so what does it mean it's a vocation? So he told me, like your parents, it's a vocation for them to get married. So it has to be to be prepared if you take that vocation. So he told me to finish first your studies, then try to work if you can, and then enjoy your life as a teenager. So I followed that advice of that priest. So I finished my college and experienced working, and then after that I made my decision to be a sister. So I applied another religious congregation, but their main charism is in school. But one of our neighbors in Bohol came back with a brochure of the Pastorales sisters. Right there and there, I said, I think this is my vocation to be a pastorella. Okay, so I'm happy because in discerning one's vocation, Bishop, what helps me is to know first myself. Who am I? What are my desires, and what will I do in the future? No? So in my vocation, what made me happy is what was really in my mind is to follow more closely the life of Jesus as a sister, and it was deepened in my religious life that to deepen more my baptismal, my baptismal as a Catholic, as a Christian, and it will be deepened in my religious vocation. So what made me happy is to respond God's calling to be in service for the church and for His people, giving my whole life, dedicating my life to His kingdom.
Very good. And by deepening, I know that, and just like with the religious priests and all of us in general, it's important for us to really have that quality time in prayer.
Yeah.
And perhaps, how does your day look like? Maybe we can share with us, with Sister Emma, or before when Sister Nina was with us. Hi, Sister Nina, who has now a new assignment. She's probably still in Rome at this moment.
Yes.
And so, by deepening that vocation, that relationship with God, an important component is also really observing time for prayer. How does your day look like? You begin with morning prayer, you attend Mass, and then you also have like weekly recollection and all of that. In other words, how do you deepen that relationship with God through prayer?
Okay, we have regular prayer, Bishop. We have a common prayer, and at the same time, personal prayer. In the morning, and then we have 1 hour before the Blessed Sacrament, and we have also the evening prayer, and we have also time for a personal prayer. Like having examination of conscience, recollections, and then we have also a yearly spiritual exercises, 8-day with all for all of us, sisters. And then we have the spiritual direction, if ever we have. And then we have the regular confession. Okay. So, because for us, Pastorelli, we have what we call the 4 wheels, Bishop, that we try to see, but that is like a car. We have to balance our life.
What are those 4 wheels?
Prayer life, community life, then the pastoral life, the apostolic life, and then our community. That is the 4 wheels.
So if one of those wheels is not in line with the other, that's when problem happens.
Yes.
Can we talk about, I really want I want a juicier testimony. Which one is the most challenging?
Challenging? I think it's community life.
Yes.
Yeah, because we are coming from different personalities, different background. No?
Right.
But for me, it's easier if we really pray. If we really pray that this community will be a good community,
It's easier to manage the schedule, but it's very difficult to manage personalities.
It seems like that is also, you're speaking from your experience and from your heart, Father Melvin.
No, I was in the seminary for a very long time.
That's right.
I had to deal with a lot of different personalities in the seminary.
Yes.
So I know, Sister, what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then, some priests also, like, the religious, they have this vows of, chastity, poverty, and obedience.
Right.
And then some friends share with me that the most challenging really is about obedience, because with chastity and poverty, you're basically you're accountable to God and to your community, to the people. But when you talk about obedience, this whole relationship aspect on how you view your relationship with your superior, your communities of accountability. So I think that's where the challenge also comes in.
Do you also have 3 vows? I mean, an extra vow apart from the 3 evangelical councils?
No, Father.
Oh, so you only have the poverty,
Chastity and obedience.
Okay. Now, one vow is difficult enough, 3 vows, very difficult. You don't have to add another one.
Perhaps Father Melvin, for the sake of our listeners, briefly, you don't mind sharing what do you mean by vows, and like each one, how would you describe them? And I know like both religious men and women, they do profess these vows.
The vows are actually evangelical counsels. This is something that is Christological in nature. So you have the vow of poverty, of chastity, and obedience. This is our way, the closest, I should say, way to impersonate Christ. If we want to personify Christ, then we have to live the vow of poverty, as Christ was he lived a poor person. From being a king, from being a god, he chose to become a slave. As we hear from the scriptures all the time. So the poverty of Christ, the obedience of Christ to the will of the Father, that we also have to embrace that counsel, and then the chastity, the purity. I'm not talking about the celibacy part, but the chastity in the context of purity. So the purity of Christ, we have to embrace all these blankets, these threefold element that we can find in the person of Christ: poverty, chastity, obedience. If you live out these evangelical counsels, then you are very Christ-like. That's pretty much how I can explain it in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's important, I think not only for our listeners, but even for us to be reminded of what does each vow mean, and how is it applied to our day-to-day life. I'm also curious in a perhaps separate or another topic. Sister, I often think of the role of women in the church today. And definitely the presence of religious sisters, it's an important role in our ministry today in a male-dominated society, and even in church hierarchy. But the role of religious women, like you, Sister Emma, the Mercedarians who are also here in our diocese, what do you see? What do you think is the future of, like, in terms of participation of women, lay women, as you see in the parish ministry you are involved with right now in San Vicente?
Yeah, so our founder really used to tell us that be a mother, or be mothers to the flock where God is entrusted to you. So we express our motherhood by taking care of the flock that the parish is there. So our compassion, our being patient, our gentleness in dealing with them. So I think that is a part of being a woman.
And also being patient with the pastor, with the priest.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not just saying about your specific assignment right now. Hi, Pali Jesse. But I think, it is important to have that good working relationship with, if you work side by side with your pastor, and how do you foster, how do you nurture that good working relationship also with the priest?
Okay.
Yeah. So you talk about humility and understanding and all of that.
The complementarity with the pastor, that is very challenging apostolate, because the priest has a different personality. Sometimes you would clash in terms of ideals, in terms of principles, and you have to meet somewhere, in order for the ministry to work out. And a lot of adjustment need to be done.
Yeah. As a woman, we express our femininity. No, femininity in expressing our pastoral ministry.
Yeah, and I think the image of a woman and the feminine component or aspect in church ministry is also very important, right? I mean, it's again from history and who holds the power and who makes decisions. So I think to kind of really include the voices of women and their important role in the church is really key. So you really play a very important role in the life of a parish, sister. What you're doing right now, what Sister Emma is doing in the respective parishes that you're involved.
Yes.
So in the years that the Pastorelle sisters have been here in Saipan, do you think that the ministry here, the Pastorelle ministry here, is in a way producing what it needs to produce?
Are you asking sister or me?
Sister.
Just ask Bishop.
Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, sister.
Save me, help me.
Producing in what aspect?
I mean,
Father?
do you think you are really maximizing your ministry? You're able to maximize your ministry here in the diocese, or?
Yeah, because we are really helping in the parish and in the diocese, no?
Yes.
And we hope that there's a fruit of our presence here
Right.
in the diocese. Yeah.
And also, I am really very grateful to your congregation, Sister R.C. Estrada, who is the outgoing superior provincial of the Pastorelli, and then I think come June,
Yes.
Sister Puri will be the next superior. So I'm blessed to have good working relationship with the leadership of the Pastorelli and the many Pastorelli sisters who have been here.
Right.
And they continue. And my hope and prayer is that this collaboration will continue and bear fruit. And we're not really we can't really predict. But that's why I said, is that a question for Sister Cynthia or me? But I am very happy and pleased and grateful with their presence and ministry. And so thank you for that.
Well, I'm hoping that the other sister is supposed to be coming. I don't know when she's supposed to be coming.
We asked Sherwin. Well, we have already processed. We submitted the paperwork to the U.S. immigration, but as we know, the ball is not in our court. It takes time, right? And just like the Adorno, the agreement between a diocese and a religious congregation is to have 3 members of a community. So right now, they are only 2, Sister Cynthia and Sister Emma, and with Father Melvin also and Father Arman. So, and why is it 3? Perhaps you can shed light on that. Like, rather than 2, we can just have 2, but 3 to form a community.
And it can be like a Trinity, Bishop.
Okay, good answer. Good answer.
Yeah. That,
and who is love there? Who is
the 3 of us?
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good to have 3 in one community.
Yes. And the same, Father Melvin. So when there's a new member, would you be the Father, the Son, or the Holy Spirit?
I'll be the boss. I'm just kidding.
What unites us is love, Bishop.
That's right.
Yeah, you are really a religious sister.
There has to be someone always who is ready to stand in the middle.
Yes.
Because if there are only 2 and there's a faction, for example, then that's broken already. The relationship between the house is already broken. But if you have one intermediary person who can, patch things up, hey brother, hey sister, that's easier. That's easier for the community to move on, to move forward. Yeah, apart from the Trinitarian.
But it's a good way of putting it. I think it's a good model. And really defined by love. Right?
Bishop. And in our community, we have an animator to animate the community, as Father is mentioning.
Yeah. So he or she is the animator, the intermediary person.
Yes.
So, wow. Sister, it felt like only 10 minutes that we were talking, but it's actually almost 30 minutes that we're already talking here in our program. So thank you very much once again, Sister. I learned a lot from you, and I hope the viewers, our listeners, also learned a lot, especially the part wherein you said you are sent to live and to give Jesus to the world. That is the main reason why you are serving, to live and to give Jesus to the world. That is your way of becoming a better Catholic. That is your way also of making sure that other people will become better Catholics.